This video is brought to you by Titan Mattress. Springtime is upon us, and as you begin thinking about good old-fashioned spring cleaning, maybe it's time you consider replacing your mattress with something you can rest comfortably on. You know, something that actually supports your back instead of you sinking into it like a damn conehead. Oh, I bet you weren't expecting a Coneheads reference in 2026. Luckily, Titan has your back, figuratively and literally in this case. Titan specializes in making quality mattresses for plus-size individuals, such as myself, and I got no problem saying that out loud. Nope, I'm a big dude, and just as you need the right set of clothes, you also need the right mattress. Sleep's a very important aspect of your life, and it's important that you make the right kind of investment for it. With Titan, you don't gotta waste time going to a mattress emporium or anything like that. You order these online, and they're shipped to your house, safe and sound in a secure box. Installing it is simple, and it's pretty fun. It's like a magic trick seeing it expand to fit your bed frame. I personally had my Titan mattress for well over 2 years at this point, and I haven't looked back. It's genuinely one of the most comfortable mattresses I've ever slept on. And that's important for me because I work from home, and if I don't get a good night's sleep, my productivity the following day just crashes and burns, and I don't get anything done. But my Titan mattresses offer me superb comfortability and back support for myself and my partner. And it's not just me, even my parents agree. I got them set up with a Titan Plus Elite on their own, not just to replace their crusty ass mattress, but because I firmly believe Titan makes some damn good mattresses. With Titan, you know you're getting quality and affordability. They're backed by master craftsmen who've been building mattresses for over 30 years. They're rigorously tested to ensure durability, and since they're designed, assembled, and shipped from their Arizona factory, they can use premium materials at a reasonable price for you, and if you live in the US, you get free shipping. Plus, if you're still on the fence, Titan comes with a 120-night sleep trial and a limited lifetime warranty to give you peace of mind with your purchase. Visit titanmattress.com/somecallmejohnny to get 30% off your order with code Somecallmejohnny. Ooh. Once more, that's titanmattress.com/somecallmejohnny to get 30% off your order with code Somecallmejohnny. You can also scan the QR code you see on the screen there to get started from your very phone. Thanks to Titan for sponsoring this video, and thank you as always for helping support this channel. Let's continue on with the show.
Good move.
Well, until recently, I would have said it's finally time to look at the last 2D Castlevania entry that was handled directly by Konami. But it is a bit of a misnomer to call Castlevania Order of Ecclesia the last true Castlevania, or Metroidvania for that matter, since the series didn't really die after this entry. And I'm not talking about the fixation of pachinko machines and other spin-offs that are just, well, they're there, and fuck, I don't miss those days. The Lords of Shadow series by Mercury Steam would follow this. That was 2 3D games and a 2.5D entry, Mirror of Fate, that from my understanding, these were considered moderate successes. But maybe it's just me, but I rarely hear folks talk about these games. They just kind of exist now, you know? They were attempted reboots of the franchise, but were aesthetically more grounded and not as hammy as traditional Castlevania. Konami's attempt to cash in on the character action craze of the early 2010s. These games were often compared to God of War, Dante's Inferno, and Devil May Cry. One day I'll give these games some love when I start focusing on the 3D Castlevania entries, but just a heads up, I don't plan on doing that for some time. And even then, they'd be some of the last games to look in the franchise, since I would tackle the N64 and PlayStation 2 games first. A discussion for another time, since today we're focusing on the final Castlevania entry for the Nintendo DS and one of the last Castlevanias producer Koji Igarashi would have a hand in before leaving Konami and starting anew with his Bloodstained series. This is Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, released in October of 2008. An almost 2-year gap between this and Portrait of Ruin, which was only released about a year after Dawn of Sorrow, the game prior. If I had to guess, priority shifted to the PSP remake of Rondo of Blood, the Dracula X Chronicles, released in 2007. And like I said in the Rondo of Blood video, it's got some blemishes, but it's still a good time. Would recommend. Can Konami take this game out of the PlayStation Portable jail already? I'll be your friend. News of the next game on the Nintendo DS would be sparse for the foreseeable future. Shit, despite the October 2008 release window, I wouldn't know of the game's existence until that year's July issue of Nintendo Power, which I subscribed to at the time. The next Castlevania game was the cover for that month, and hot damn, Shanoa, the main protagonist of this adventure, was love at first sight for me. The outfit, the long flowing black hair, the dead on the inside look that resonates with me increasingly as I get older. She's got it all. Order of Ecclesia's art style is just damn good wholesale. I was never really bothered by the switch to the simpler anime art style starting with Dawn of Sorrow. I mean, yeah, Nowhere near as striking as Yami Kojima's work, but it still did the job. But I can't deny that Masaki Haruka's contributions to the series are just wonderful. Distinct, gothic, properly reflective of the game's time period set in the early 1800s. Order of Ecclesia was one of my most anticipated games in the second half of that year, next to, I think, Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, 2008, that was definitely Sonic Unleashed. This was the game to follow Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, which, just to remind you, that's one of my favorite entries in the franchise, glitchiness be damned. But when I first got my hands on this and gave it a go, I recall struggling a bit with it. So let's get started. So Castlevania Order of Ecclesia is set in the early 1800s. The last major event to happen in the continuity at this time was Dracula's defeat at the end of Symphony of the Night, where Alucard managed to free Richter Belmont of Shaft's mind control, destroy Castlevania twice, and put an end to his father's madness for a little bit. But because Richter fell victim to the forces of darkness for a time, the Belmont clan went on this, I guess, self-imposed exile until they became strong enough to never fall under the influence of dark powers again. I guess the time when Soleil Belmont was corrupted by the power of darkness on the Game Boy game didn't count. So unfortunately, because of this sabbatical, this means humanity's greatest asset to dealing with the forces of Dracula's evil just up and fucking vanished. So many other factions were created to fill the gap, one of the most prominent being the Order of Ecclesia, consisting of Shanoa and Albus, adopted brother and sister, and Barlow, their mentor. The Order specializes in the power of glyphs, magical runes that Shanoa can absorb into her body and utilize their special abilities, like swords, magical projectiles, and becoming half-naked cat ladies. After enough training, Barlow believes Shanoa is ready to absorb the Order's most powerful glyph, Dominus, believing it will give her the edge to become the world's new savior. However, Albus, knowing full well what Dominus can do to the user and realizes Barlow's not telling Shanoa the whole truth, since it's revealed later that Dominus is in fact the fucking power of Dracula, deliberately sabotages the ritual and takes Dominus for himself, leaving Shanoa comatose for a time, where she eventually wakes up completely devoid of her memories and emotions. Despite that setback, Barlow believes that Shanoa can eventually track Albus down and get the power of Dominus back. So Shanoa sets off to locate Albus, leading her to the nearby Weigel village that's seen better days as Albus has mysteriously kidnapped all the local villagers and placed them in these yellow crystal-like prisons that remind me of Bincho-type fields from Brave Friends and Musashi. Not only that, but Albus has apparently been also collecting blood samples from the kidnapped villagers for some unknown purpose. So on top of locating Albus, Shanoa also makes it a thing to locate the missing villagers during her journey through the surrounding areas. And some of these guys, considering where you found them, I gotta wonder how the fuck did Albus manage to drag these motherfuckers through these places? Like, I know he was regretting this decision immediately when he decided to place the town chef on top of this tall ass tower, probably dragging this dude's big ass the way Homer was pulling the Stone of Triumph. As you play the game, you realize Albus doesn't make much effort in covering his tracks, as he clearly wants Shanoa to find him. He even deliberately gives Shanoa 2 pieces of Dominus before fucking off again to parts unknown. But with Shanoa unable to fully process emotions and having no memory of her previous life, this doesn't really phase her course of action and continues playing along with Albus's little game. This culminates in a final confrontation between the two, where Albus, using the power of science, proceeds to absorb the last piece of Dominus into his own body after studying how Shanoa does it. Okay, so you can just do this by watching them do it? What kind of perfect cell instant transmission moment of bullshit is this? Unfortunately, Albus succumbs to the dark powers festering within Dominus and gets a little nutty, forcing Shanoa to put him out of his misery. With Albus defeated, Shanoa absorbs the final piece of Dominus, but suddenly gets flooded with Albus's memories, revealing to her the truth that all along her adopted brother was just trying to prevent Shanoa from killing herself using the power of Dominus, attempting to take the dark power into himself, utilizing the blood of the villagers to potentially enhance his own power, since it turns out they're all descendants of the Belmont clan? I mean, all these guys are Belmont descendants, or Belmont adjacent at least? Is that what's going on here? How much did these people fuck? Well, either way, it didn't exactly work out for Albus in the end, but with Shanoa now realizing the truth behind Dominus and her mentor's deception, she immediately heads back to Ecclesia's home base and confronts Barlow, revealing his true nature as a Dracula worshipper who wanted Shanoa to use the power of Dominus to revive Count Dracula. Well, Shanoa says nuts to that and gives Barlow the good old 1-2, but Barlow decides to sacrifice himself to break open the vessel, reviving not only Dracula, but his humble abode as well. And there's nothing much left for Shanoa to do at this point but enter Dracula's domain and take care of his minions, including Bomberman, Master of Puppet, a Shadow of the Colossus reject, a climactic encounter with the Grim Reaper. Now I'm fucking with it, he's no problem here.
Don't you think that's weirdly fucked up?
And finally, Count Dracula himself. And holy shit, Dracula must have been super pissed about his loss in Symphony of the Night, because he's not fucking around this time. It's got vertical projectiles, fireballs, and meteors. Nothing can jump over his head, can it? Ow, he's got a fucking anti-air now. bats, demonic dogs, a bad touch, and then when you drain enough health, he doesn't bother with a second form. He starts doing the most anti-Dracula thing imaginable. He starts walking. Look at it. That's so weird looking. And what the shit? He just has Rugel's genocide cutter from King of Fighters. Dracula, didn't you read the sign? Rugel's banned. You're gonna get blacklisted, Dracula. The only way for Shanoa to truly defeat Dracula is to use his own power against him, so after enough time, Shanoa whips out the power of Dominus and sends Dracula to a anticlimactic end. No, seriously, I hate how quickly and unceremoniously he just fades away here. That doesn't look like the vanquishing of great evil, that just looks like stepping on a Lego piece with your bare foot. Because she used Dominus, Shanoa begins to fade away herself, but Albus's soul managed to reside within Shanoa after their battle, and happily offers his soul as a sacrifice for Dominus to keep Shanoa alive, claiming that, you know, it's his job as the older brother to protect his sister. But before completely fading away, he asked Shanoa to smile for him one last time, with Shanoa obliging, and it's cute, but also kind of reminds me of the Hide the Pain Herald image. Dracula's castle once again crumbles to dust, and with the Order of Ecclesia officially disbanded now, Shanoa can do nothing but walk off to parts unknown, as the story ends with no one likely ever knowing of the great evil that Shanoa managed to vanquish on this horrible night. To which I say, shit, fuck that, those villagers better be holding a goddamn parade for her when she gets back. The story is okay. I think the thing that bothers me the most is the lack of developing Shanoa. We're told almost nothing about her before she loses her memories and emotions, which, to mention again, happens in like the first 5 minutes of gameplay. So alright, I would think Order of Ecclesia is a journey of personal rediscovery. Yeah, there's the layer of mystery regarding Albus's actions, and then when the chips are down, managing to defeat Dracula with no Belmonts in sight. But I figure the major focal point would be Shanoa reflecting on who she is, who she was, and how could she get back to that point. But that just doesn't happen, doesn't feel important at all. It's just an excuse for her stoic personality. She has a mission, she's committed to it, and you know, I love her sense of duty. She's a woman who gets shit done. And her lack of personality is almost a personality in of itself when you interact with all the villagers you rescue. She clearly still cares about people, yet can't properly express herself, and in a macabre sort of way, at least there's some humorous bits where certain villagers are trying their damnedest to get Shanoa to crack a smile. Try as they might, they'll never break that indifferent fortress she calls a face. But don't get me wrong, there are moments when she realizes that she should be feeling a certain way as things begin to unfold. You know, her adoptive brother dying, her mentor betraying her. I just wanted more of that. At the same time, I also enjoy how no nonsense she is because of what she lost. I mean, what the fuck else can you do when you're empty inside? Gotta retrieve Dominus? Okay. The little girl wants me to rescue her cat? Okay. Master betrayed me? Okay. Gotta destroy Dracula now? Okay. Again, she gets shit done, but it's standard Castlevania fare besides that. Still, I'd love to see her come back one day though, see how things end up for her. Castlevania needs more women, and women who aren't just spellcasters too. We already got like 4 of those. Okay, well, Shanoa is sort of a spellcaster anyway, but I think it's more accurate to label her as a rune knight. Using the power of glyphs she can absorb into her body, Shanoa can use the magic within to fashion all sorts of melee weapons like swords, hammers, and scythes, or she can launch elemental projectiles like gusts of wind, giant fuck you moons. God, I love these, they're so big. Electrical orbs, dark orbs, light orbs that travel in an annoying trajectory. Jesus Christ, I just completely whiffed that asshole. She can summon goons to do her bidding, albeit at a glacial pace. She can transform into a couple of creatures for a little bit before you realize that none of them are particularly good. Either way, glyphs are your main source of offense in this game, since the shop you can unlock in the village later doesn't offer Shanoa anything more than standard armor and healing items. Nope, you gotta discover more glyphs if you want more toys to play with, and a good chunk are just given to you as you keep playing the game, but there's also plenty you can only get by either absorbing it from an enemy when they're about to launch a specific attack, or by getting it from them randomly when they die, and guess what that means? Yeah, we did that already. I'm so tired, Father. You can also combine certain glyphs to perform union attacks at the cost of hearts per use. Not every glyph combines into something though. If they're incompatible, you just get this blast of energy, which, you know, that still hurts for what it's worth, but it also means try something else. But when you find the right combinations, hot damn, Shanoa can conjure up ginormous weapons that can deal absurd amounts of damage with proper setup. By the time you get to Dracula's castle and gain access to the laser beam from the green skeletons, you also just straight up get one of the best union attacks, the purple lightsaber. I mean, that's just what it fucking is, it's a purple lightsaber. Glyphs are also what give Shanoa status buffs like higher attack power and sturdier defenses, and they're also the source of dedicated movement upgrades like a double jump, which it's a small thing, but I love Shanoa's double jump animation in this. Animation-wise, it's very fluid, but I also like how it looks like she's not fully in control of the flip jump, like she's fighting against the G-forces of the jump like, oh shit, this sucks. There's also this Magnus power that lets you grab onto these nodes and launch yourself to higher ground like a slingshot. It's pretty neat, but used just infrequently enough that I find it a little annoying whenever they do show up, because that means I gotta spend a bit of time getting Magnus re-equipped for a brief second if I forgot to equip it to one of my gear sets. Fuck, this game sure loves its Latin. At least I think it's Latin. Every glyph has a Latin name here, which at a glance makes it difficult for me to remember what's what when I'm adjusting equipment because, well, I'm stupid. So technically, you can't be all willy-nilly with glyphs, as each use does consume magic power. But really, Shanoa's natural mana restoration is so ungodly fast in this game anyway, that it's better to think of it as a stamina meter rather than a traditional magic bar. It's so funny too, because the shop still sells magic tonics to refill your magic in a pinch, but again, your natural regen is already so goddamn fast that I never once needed to purchase them. And that only gets better when you discover those permanent health, magic, and heart upgrades by exploring the castle. And you better start getting good with all those glyphs, because this game will rip you a new asshole, especially early on. Honestly, I forgot how fucking front-loaded this game's journey is with overcooked enemy placement and boss encounters, and unfortunately, I think it comes at the cost of level design. Order of Ecclesia is still a Metroidvania in its core, but world progression is inorganic, broken up into a bunch of bite-sized areas that are more like stages in a classic Castlevania experience rather than the modern games. Shit, a few areas are just straight lines, where the challenge is dealing with the repetitious hordes of enemies thrown your way. God, it's like the problem I had with Circle of the Moon's enemy layouts, but it feels like it's 3 times worse here. There are still the more dedicated explorative zones as you'd expect from these games, but even these railroad you to go in a specific way because of story progression. And I'm not terribly against this, to be fair. I think it gives Order of Ecclesia a degree of focus, something you'd see in like Metroid Fusion. This is a Castlevania game where you don't gotta worry about potentially getting lost in. It is very straightforward. It's just, I hope you like fighting a bunch of shit at once, constantly. This is a more combat-oriented Castlevania adventure, and if it isn't the sheer amount of enemies you encounter, it's the boss fights, who are among some of the most difficult encounters you can face in any of the Metroidvanias by far, because Shanoa can only do so much at a given time. They all hit like semi-trucks, and Shanoa is already pretty fucking fragile. And if anything, that's the major gripe I have with these, because I don't find any fight here unfair. It's all pattern recognition. It's just, mistakes can be very costly very quickly. Okay, I lied. There's 2 fights I straight up don't like. I don't like the fight against the giant crab in the elevator shaft that has the strangely human roar. Why does he sound like that? Well, anyway, it's an auto-scroller. You smack him for a bit, you dodge the claws, he breaks the ceiling, you climb up a bit, you repeat that 3 more times. It's dull as shit on revisits. It's only saving grace being when you deliver the coup de grace. Now, that is so fucking satisfying. I also don't like the fight against this dude near the end of the game, Eligor. He's a big fuck with a ton of weak points, which means this fight can drag out, and Christ, hitboxes can get weird when you're trying to stay on his back. It's impressive how many ways this dude tries to get you off his back. The devs clearly put a lot of love into designing this guy, but what the shit? What fucking hit me there? But if you got a knack for exploring, collecting extra glyphs, and helping the villagers out with their side quests, Shanoa will have plenty of means of dealing with these guys. It's all a matter of perseverance, having the right equipment, either from side quests, enemy drops, or treasure chests you can find throughout the stages, and knowing the best spots to farm money, which, with a little know-how in the double jump, you can use this spot here in the mountain areas for infinite cash with little to no issue. Yeah, look at her go, raking in the money big time, infinite healing items for you to splurge on later, assuming you unlock them doing the proper side quests. I will say, if you are going to do those side quests, I hope you like farming rare drops from enemies, because a lot of them require you to do just that, and it is boring as shit. Still, I think it's worth the effort, because you can get some great stuff for Shanoa if you put the time in. And you gotta rescue all the villagers anyway if you actually want to finish the game, otherwise the game just anticlimactically ends after you fight Albus. Speaking of which, you can play as him after finishing the game. He's the standard alternate mode. He has no access to inventory and doesn't do side quests. It's just a challenge to see how fast you can get to the end with your limited arsenal. That said, his arsenal ain't bad. He's got projectiles for days. His default weapon is just a fucking gun that you can rapid fire like nothing else. I just wish you could move and shoot with it at the same time. You come to a dead halt whenever you fire this thing unless you're in midair. So this is not quite as a Mega Man as I was hoping it would be. He also screams every attack he does, and it makes me wish, hey, maybe we don't need voice acting for everything, you know? Shit, and it's not just him either. A lot of enemies in this game just don't know when to shut the fuck up. But yeah, Albus isn't a bad character at all, honestly, but Order of Ecclesia's main campaign is already something I'm not keen on overextending my time with, so I don't feel compelled to play this mode like Julius mode in the Sorrow games or Richter mode in Portrait of Ruin. I was happy to go back to this game because despite my hiccups when I initially got this back in 2008, I still played a lot of it. Just for curiosity's sake, I went and booted up my DS copy to find my old save file was still there, and damn, I leveled up a shit ton, and my equipment was reckless as fuck. And I managed to get all the boss medals, which required defeating these guys without getting hit. Granted, with 2 death rings, that ain't too bad to accomplish. But I was surprised to see the Eligor boss medal in there, and legit, I do not remember doing that. Holy fuck, I hate this guy. Why would I ever bother doing that? Was I bored or was I insane? Actually, 2008 is when I made this channel, so I was insane. Still, the point is, I find Order of Ecclesia enjoyable. It is a good time. I don't find the glyph system as versatile or as interesting as the Souls and the Sorrow games, the partner mechanic in Portrait of Ruin, or even the cards in Circle of the Moon. But I find these much more comfortable to obtain, so I'm open to more experimentation, especially since Shanoa always has 2 weapons at her disposal at once. Mixing and matching in of itself can be pretty fun. I just gotta hope the glyphs are actually worth using, you know? To say again, I love Shanoa's character design and attitude towards killing demons and all that jazz, and her journey is accompanied by a gorgeous gothic aesthetic and energetic music, which is to say I don't like the game's soundtrack as much as Portrait of Ruins, but it far outclasses Dawn of Sorrow without it being too atmospheric. No, it's a wonderful blend of melancholic melodies and kinetic riffs that make me feel like I'm in a Castlevania game proper, as well as having stellar remixes of older Castlevania themes. The arrangement of Riddle from Castlevania 3 during the game's optional challenges is just the absolute best shit, man. Despite this, Order of Ecclesia is easily my least favorite of the DS games though, and yeah, a part of it is because of the difficulty spike. This game will just unapologetically kick your ass in the opening hour or so until you start finding the good shit, but I also think the level design is considerably weaker than previous entries. They try to appease both fans of classic Castlevania and Metroidvanias with this Reese's Peanut Butter Cup approach, where the first half is super linear point A to point B stage progression, but the trek to Dracula's castle is more in line with standard Metroidvania affair. And I think it works enough, but sometimes the game's overall sense of progression does feel weirdly segmented, with no area feeling as fleshed out as zones from previous games. I'd still gladly take this over having 2 castles for no fucking reason, let's not leave anything to doubt here. But I gotta say, traveling through this game can feel pretty fucking bland. And unfortunately, it got to a point where my original intent was to do a normal mode playthrough and then an Albus mode playthrough. I did 2 of those, but then I was going to do a hard mode playthrough out of curiosity because I'm going back into Order of Ecclesia knowing it's already the hardest of the DS games. I wanted to see just how truly unhinged it would get when you go through more bullshit on top of that. But the fact of the matter is, I got bored and I just didn't feel like playing the game anymore. What I recorded should be enough for a general opinion of Order of Ecclesia, and I was happy with just leaving it at that. And what a difference a few months can make, huh? Because if I made this video not too long after I recorded Portrait of Ruin, I would have said, well, that's the last game that Konami made for Castlevania that wasn't Lords of Shadow, handled by a different dev team, or an online multiplayer game that is not really canon, it just does its own thing. But here we are, 2026, they've announced a new 2D Castlevania game to celebrate the game's, well, the series' 40th anniversary, on top of other things that they promised to release at some point. And I don't know exactly what that entails, but holy shit, dude, I'm just happy that Castlevania is actually getting love and attention again. It's a great time to be a Castlevania fan again. Again, the series didn't really die. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you had those Lords of Shadows games, you had the online multiplayer game, and outside of that, you know, other forms of media kept giving Castlevania games love. The Netflix series is fantastic, and you should watch that if you haven't already. But I am curious as to what else they have in store for us for the franchise's 40th anniversary, outside of the new game being released later this year. And I don't want to spend too much time on the theory crafting or wish fulfilling, but 2 things do immediately come to mind. One, the Dracula X Chronicles and the PlayStation Portable needs to be released outside of the PlayStation Portable. It has been close to 19 years, goddammit. It has been long enough. It needs new life. It is a fine game. I want more people to play it. I want people to experience something they probably didn't play because it was released for a handheld that not many people got when during its heyday. 2, and I can't stress how much I would really like to see this happen, and I'm hoping it does at some point or another. They need to re-release Castlevania Harmony of Despair, the online multiplayer game that I believe was originally released for the Xbox Live Arcade in 2010, and then eventually it saw release on the PlayStation 3. And I played the fucking shit out of this game. Like, it is a plan of mine later to make a video on this, regardless if it gets re-released or not, because I feel like I can make a good video on it. But I would love nothing more than to see it re-released with just more people being able to play it now than they did back then. It's something I would love to play with my community at some point for a review, just for shits and giggles, because it is grind fucking city. Like, grinding is all you do in that game, just for the sake of seeing number go up and beating the real impossible challenges. But goddamn, is it a whole lot of fun. It's just Castlevania that you play with other people. That's literally it. And for years, it has been stuck on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. I don't think you can even play it anymore on the 360 because the Xbox Live service, I think, for that console is down. And I don't even know if you can still play it on PlayStation 3 anymore, which is all the more reason why it needs to be re-released. So please, Konami, you're starting to do great things again. Can you please re-release Castlevania Harmony of Despair? I would truly be your friend. But I've already taken enough of your time. I got one more Spyro game to look at before I begin this video series 15th anniversary celebration starting in April. Well, I don't know exactly what to expect with Spyro Enter the Dragonfly outside of the shit that I've heard throughout the years from other Spyro fans, but that should be, I'm hoping that's pretty interesting. We'll wait and see. You can find out for yourself by going to the community Discord, the Subshack, because I plan on recording the entire thing with my community Discord, bearing witness to the bullshit I'm likely going to encounter, but we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll end up liking it. Who knows? But I will catch you guys next time. As always, thank you all for watching. Stay safe out there. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care. And as the video wraps up, I want to give some more shout outs to some lovely $10 patrons over at my Patreon at patreon.com/Somecallmejohnny. So shout outs to Darth Kimmy 15, Dat Boy, Dave Dingledore, David Alicia, David Bolton Media, David Lee Smith, David Sheltrin, David Siegel, Deactive, Deltex, Delwyn Rosa, Dennis James Mon, Demos Pitas, Dinkle McStinkle, Dirty Curdy, it's all caps there, Dia422, DJ Spindash, Dobie2180, Docking23, Dr. Disaster Dracula, okay, Dom Petretta, Dominique Ferguson, Dom Nick, Doot Fuller, Dr. Tex, Dracula, there's two Draculas there, DSJ Brigade, Dusk Wingmoth, Dustin Roth, Dylan, aka Dan Lucky, Dylan Tap, and finally for today, Echidna Dylan. I will see you guys for the Spyro Enter the Dragonfly video, and then we can begin the 15th anniversary celebrations proper. Although, depending on how Enter the Dragonfly goes, we might be starting out a little early. Have a good night, everybody.